I have been rejected thousands of times based upon my physical appearance. For the past 17 years, I've worked as a model. And as models, we go to castings. And over the course of 17 years, I've been to approximately 4,000 castings. Castings are also called go-sees. It's when you walk in to meet a client and you have about 1 minute to show them your portfolio, make a good impression for a photo shoot that's going to be happening the following day or the following week. I also have to point out that sometimes there's 200 other beautiful women waiting for that same job. As you can imagine, being young and feeling rejected could take a toll on anyone. You'd think that models of all people would be used to it, or they would naturally be confident because of their looks. But I have seen the most beautiful women who are also the most insecure. In addition to modeling, I run my own production company and am the mother of 2 very rambunctious little boys. For me, the key to keeping it together comes down to confidence. Confidence in myself to take big risks despite rejection and failure along the way. But where does real confidence come from? Now, I don't mean that arrogant type of confidence. I mean that type of confidence when you believe and trust in yourself. I want to take you on my journey and show you how I found confidence in rejection, my pursuit of knowledge, failure, and discipline. Let's start with rejection. To be completely honest, it's a little embarrassing to announce to the entire world that I have been rejected thousands of times. But it felt too important of a topic for me not to discuss. Because everybody has to deal with rejection at one point in their lives, I hope that for you it's not in the thousands. One of those rejections for me was a bikini job. I was booked on a multi-day shoot, and after the very first day of my shoot, I get a call from my agent, and she's like, "Hey, Cayleen, so the client said that you are too fat for the shoot, and they're canceling you for the following days. Okay, bye." And I stop. And I'm like, okay, let me just point out here that those bathing suits it was a swimwear that you couldn't get wet. Like, you couldn't get in the water in the swimwear, which I don't even know how that makes sense. Anyhow, that's how my industry works. So I'm there in my car, and I'm about to park to walk into a really important casting. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, well, I have to make a decision. Either I'm gonna let that phone call make me feel anger or bad about myself and lose my shot at this other job, or I was going to make a conscious effort to use it as ammunition to get out of my car with a smile on my face and walk into that casting as if nothing had happened. I went on to book that bigger and better job than that bikini line that you can't swim in job. And a couple days later, I have my fitting. And fittings are kind of fast-paced. Like, the stylist is throwing clothes at me, so you're kind of going fast, fast. And all of a sudden, she steps back and pauses, and she goes, "Your body." And I thought in my mind, you have got to be kidding me. This is not happening again. Oh, my God. And I froze. And then she went on to say, "It's exactly what we were thinking of. Your body's so perfect. What do you do? Do you work out?" And I feel like all these questions are, like, floating over my head. I'm speechless, which is very difficult for me because I talk a lot. I don't even know what to say because 2 days ago, I was just told I was too fat. Now, I'm standing in front of this lady and she's telling me how perfect my body is. The moral of this story is, rejection is not about me. It's about the perspective of other people. What if I didn't get out of the car that day? What if I let the negative opinions of other people affect my career? I now consider rejection a gift for 2 reasons. 1, I built confidence, knowing that it wasn't about me. And 2, I grew an immunity towards rejection, which is a very powerful tool, and I use it in my everyday life. But it took a lot of mental discipline. I'm going to dip into discipline a little bit later because I want to move on to the second place I found confidence. It was through my pursuit of knowledge. I'm one of 4 kids that grew up in a small town in North Carolina with love, laughter, a roof over my head, and 2 parents that I like to refer to as hippies with relentless optimism. But if I wanted something more, I had to work for it. I put myself through school because working as a model is like having a career in reverse. When everybody else is climbing up their corporate ladder, getting raises, we're peaking in our 20s. Your 20s is like the time when you're making the most money as a model. So I used that money to invest in my education. I was taking courses online, teaching myself various editing software, social media, whatever I could get my hands on to prepare myself for my 30s. Because when you say that you're a 30-something model, this is how people look at me. I will say, thankfully, I am still working in my 30s. 40s, not quite there yet. But because of my pursuit of knowledge, it gave me a confidence. Because I knew that no matter what, I always had something else to fall back on. Education, whether it's traditional or not, is something that doesn't go away with age. The next place that I found my confidence was in failure. After some success as a model, I made it my mission to start my own company by the age of 24. So I took a little Post-it note out and I wrote, "Start company by the age of 24," and put it on my refrigerator door. I was 23 at the time. And I would look at it every single day and I'm like, yes, I'm gonna be a successful entrepreneur. I had no idea what that company was gonna be, but I just knew it. That was my path. When approached by a friend of mine to start bringing jewelry from Brazil to the US, it was made of nuts and seeds found in the Amazon jungle, and my jewelry line was going to be in every single store around the world. It was totally obtainable at the time because I was 24. I dove in 100% with the innocence of a new entrepreneur. I lived and breathed that company for 5 years. Until my business partner moved back to Brazil. I simply wasn't selling enough to keep it afloat, and I had to pull the plug. Breaking up with my company might have been one of the most difficult decisions I've had to make, and it hurt. I had failed at my big life goal. A couple of years later, I was approached by some pretty amazing people. They were starting a production company and they had asked me to be one of the business partners. Of course, I said yes because I had been in the industry for so long that I thought I knew what I was getting myself into, or I half knew what I was getting myself into, because production is a whole other beast in itself. As I began building this company with my partners, I realized then that maybe failure was not quite the right word for that first experience. I had learned so much in my first business that I was applying to this new business. I felt sometimes that I was like a step ahead. The rejection that came with being a model. Through my pursuit of knowledge and failure, I learned so much. I don't allow rejection and failure to take me off course, but instead propel me to whatever's next. Now, I can't say that I'm completely unfazed by rejection and failure because I am human and the initial sting really stinks. But that's why I like to use my secret weapon, discipline. If I had to choose one word to describe myself, that word would be discipline. And I don't mean that rigid type of discipline. I mean that type of discipline when you have a dream or a goal and you believe with everything that it's possible to achieve. That's how I live my life every single day. It's why a girl from a small town in North Carolina is able to be a business owner, still model after 17 years, look and feel healthy, and be the mother to 2 boys. It's mental discipline, it's daily discipline, it's physical discipline, it's how I show up for my life. One way that I have been able to achieve my goals this far is I set them. And I know it sounds very simple, but if I don't set any goals, I have nothing to focus on. So a couple times per year, I'll grab those trusty note cards again, and I'll start writing down my goals, and I'll pop them up on my vision board. And when I'm ready, I'll pull one down and I'll start working on it. Sometimes I can only dedicate 10 minutes per day to whatever goal that is, but it's 10 minutes closer to achieving it. I've been able to pull down numerous things off of my vision board once I've achieved those goals. For me, the key to building confidence is by pushing myself past what seems impossible by discipline. I've learned a lot by being a mother. Specifically, that I learned we're all born with a sense of discipline. I watched them as they learned to walk for the very first time. It was a buildup of working every single day until finally they were able to cross my living room floor. I also learned that we're born not knowing everything. You may try, you may fail, you may get rejected. But from now on, see these as obstacles that you get to overcome by discipline. And maybe one day you begin to believe in what's possible because you've shown up all of those times before. This is the gift of discipline. Now, I want to leave you with one phrase that I constantly think in my own mind whenever I run into my own obstacles and I know I need to keep going. Like, let's say, hypothetically speaking, you may have a mild fear of public speaking, but you have the opportunity to do a TED Talk. That phrase is, I only regret not doing. Thank you.